What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the endlessly edgy Dr. Disaster. And it's amazing how often that Ubisoft is either at or near the epicenter of everything that sucks in the gaming industry. If you aren't familiar with the Stop Killing Games petition that is looking to transform the way that video games are made, it starts with a shitty decision made by Ubisoft.
This is quite a shock! On the other hand, it's not surprising in the least.
I covered this controversy almost a year ago when the movement first began. Ubisoft decided they no longer wanted to support the old game, The Crew, and they decided to eliminate access to it for people who paid good money to play the game several years after it was released. In response to this, the Stop Killing Games initiative was begun, a petition in Europe which needed 1 million signatures in order to be addressed by the government of the European Union. The purpose of the petition was to get the government to prevent game studios from killing games that gamers had purchased. This is at the root of why companies like Ubisoft have recently pushed this strange idea that gamers need to get comfortable not owning our games.
This is bullshit!
Well, the good news is that the Stop Killing Games initiative, which looked dead in the water as recently as just a few months ago, it has gotten new life breathed into it in the past few weeks. It has surged well past its 1 million signature threshold, which was required for it to be at by July 31st in order to be debated on by the EU government. Though, as you can see here, they are still pushing for more signatures to give themselves a buffer against invalid signatures. Only citizens of the EU are considered valid signers of the petition, but now the AAA gaming studios are coming out and whining that this initiative could hurt their ability to make their live service slop.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
There's an old saying that first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they attack you, and then they build monuments to you. For better or worse, at the moment, we are now in the attack phase in regards to gamers trying to clean up the gaming industry. A massive lobbying group which works on behalf of a bunch of corporate AAA studios called Video Games Europe. They have come out now and attacked this Stop Killing Games effort to preserve games and to preserve consumer rights. But I've got to say that the statement of theirs that they put out is meant to sound strong and authoritative on the subject, but considering the timing, the fact that they only weighed in after the massive momentum gained by this movement, well, with that context in mind, it sure sounds an awful lot like these industry giants know that they are in trouble.
Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore!
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I've begun uploading some content onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. Also, give me a follow over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to my account at all times for your reference. But anyhow, let's talk about this Stop Killing Games situation and the lobbyist group trying to kill Stop Killing Games. Ultimately, the whole issue boils down to whether or not a game actually belongs to the person who pays for it, or if the end user is just licensing the product, meaning that instead a game belongs to the people who developed it. It sure seems to me that if the latter is the case, then advertising sure as hell shouldn't say that you can purchase a game from Ubisoft or whatever company made it. Seems to me that when you pay for a game, there should not be a button that says purchase now or something like that. It should say rent now or license now. The language should be very clear that you are not buying anything. It should explicitly state that gamers are paying for a license. And of course, the games that this primarily affects are going to be live service turds, the kind that require someone to be online in order to play. It's incredible how modern game companies insist on making live service games with online requirements, despite the fact that the practice is almost universally despised these days. Sure, there are games like Helldivers, for example, where live service works, but the push for this live service stuff into everything that comes out has become ludicrous. And of course, that's because these game studios see big dollar signs with games like that. Gamers are much more likely to pay for dog shit cosmetic DLC if they are playing a game where they can interact with others and show off their purchases. To me, it is interesting that game journalists, though, have not come out explicitly against the Stop Killing Games movement in defense of their corporate masters. This tells us how universally supported by the vast majority of gamers this movement really is. But anyhow, let's look at this statement from Video Games Europe. This group is the European equivalent of the Entertainment Software Association, which lobbies on behalf of the corporate gaming studios in the US. Their statement reads, "We appreciate the passion of our community. However, the decision to discontinue online services is multifaceted, never taken lightly, and must be an option for companies when an online experience is no longer commercially viable." So here's an idea. Stop making absolutely everything an online required game. How's about you start listening to what gamers want and make games that play without being online, without being live service crap? There was once a time that a gamer could purchase a video game, and without even having an internet connection, they could simply put their disc or cartridge into a console, turn it on, and just start playing. They didn't even have to download any updates or anything. The game was simply ready to go, fully contained on the disc or cartridge, a welcome byproduct of suddenly doing what gamers have been asking for is that studios might start actually selling games again if they stop trying to capitalize on the live service craze. But reading on, it says here, "We understand that it can be disappointing for players, but when it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws." Once again, stop making games that don't have an offline mode available, and we won't have to worry about any of this. We won't have to worry about being in compliance with local consumer protection laws. It's silly that these bozos are having to resort to this licensing versus purchasing argument in the first place. This would be a moot point if these studios would stop thinking in the short term. But anyhow, they go on to say in this statement, "Private servers are not always a viable alternative option for players, as the protections we put in place to secure players' data, remove illegal content, and combat unsafe community content would not exist and would leave rights holders liable. In addition, many titles are designed from the ground up to be online only. In effect, these proposals would curtail developer choice by making these video games prohibitively expensive to create." Translation: if the Stop Killing Games movement wins the day, then developers won't be able to make live service slop anymore, and they'll be prodded into making things that gamers want instead. And also, this argument that games would suddenly become too expensive to make is pretty hard to argue when studios are currently spending $300 million or more to make games these days. Word just came out, for example, that Battlefield 6 has cost over $400 million. So, I'm not going to shed any tears for these clowns. The monetization schemes in a lot of these live service games are often predatory, and they often take clear priority instead of the actual gameplay. So, if all of that goes away, I'm fine with it. These AAA studios who are fighting against this movement have been getting their asses kicked by sleeker AA studios that are making things that gamers actually want anyhow. So, if the so-called worst should happen, and this movement causes some of these studios, these AAA studios, to go belly up, I just can't be bothered to care. They deserve it as far as I'm concerned, and my backlog in games is so massive that I can wait until more studios rise up to take their place with new games. But I'm going to leave it there. If you are a citizen of the EU, and if you haven't signed this petition, make sure that you add your name to it. Also, drop your thoughts on this whole situation into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.